My name is Brandon Glen, and I'm proud to stand here on behalf of the Rice County Safe Roads Coalition, also known as Double Impact. Double Impact consists of the City of Faribault, Police and Fire Department, the Rice County Sheriff, and several different other agencies, including Fette Electronics, Glen's Towing, Troy Temple, North Ambulance AirCare, and the families of those that are impacted by crashes every year. We're here today to teach you guys about what a crash looks like. Some of you, unfortunately, may have been involved in a crash yourselves, and I'm sorry that that happened to you, but it's important that we share these experiences with other people. What you're going to see today is going to be an automobile crash that is simulated in front of you, and what that response would look like from your local emergency responders, the people who are going to come and help you. Your police officers, your firefighters, your EMS workers go to work every day, not wanting to go to one of these crashes, not wanting to be involved in them, and that's the reason why we're here today is education, to make sure that you can see what this looks like in front of your eyes and hopefully make a good decision before you get behind the wheel. Crash occurred on a local city street. It's a head-on collision. EMS has been activated. Somebody has called 911. And emergency responders are on their way. For those that are impacted by crashes and that are injured, they hear the sirens, but people are a long ways away. Law enforcement officers arrived on scene. They're assessing the situation. They're letting other EMS responders know what they see. We've got one person trapped inside of the vehicle. That means they can't get them out.
All right, so just bear with me. We got to set the
officers are working together as a team to try and see what they can do before the life-saving EMS officers and officials arrive on scene to help.
You guys got a C collar? How this holds C?
Faribault firefighters arrive on the scene to assist.
Stay with us, okay?
First thing they're going to do is they're going to get out of their truck and start grabbing equipment. It's hard to remember or to know what equipment you need in these types of circumstances.
Where's your buddy at?
So one of our firefighters is coming up to look at the scene to get a briefing from the officers to decide what equipment they need to use.
Yeah, complaining of neck pain, chest pain. He is conscious. I think we're going to have to extricate him.
You can hear the officers and the deputies briefing the firefighter on what's happening. He finds the door is indeed
Gotta pop a door.
Secured. They're going to have to extricate the person. What you're about to see is the use of extrication equipment. This equipment is expensive.
One victim.
It comes with battery power, similar to what you would see from a cordless drill. They're going to use the jaws to be able to pry the door open. This is not a pleasant sound for the people that are inside the vehicle as the vehicle brakes and busts. You can imagine being injured inside of the car, wanting help. Hearing these noises as you're being cut out.
Hey, can somebody grab C5 from over there? Yeah, they want me out of the way.
Officers have notified our ambulance partners that an air ambulance is needed, and it is en route. As you can see from this example, traffic crashes can do a number of things to an automobile. It takes a lot of time and concentration to be able to decide how to open this door. As two firefighters work, another one watches and makes sure that the equipment that they're using does not get in the way of the victim or anywhere near them where it could cause further harm. You can hear the officers trying to talk to the patient inside. They're trying to ask questions. They're trying to keep them alert. This is unfortunately something that each law enforcement officer has had to do. While you're sitting, waiting for them to get removed from the car, you're trying to keep them conscious.
We're almost ready to get out.
We're almost out.
You're encouraging the person. You're trying to tell them to stay with you.
Almost there. They almost got you ready to get you out.
Sheriff's deputy is simulating painting the scene.
I need
They're
mine.
using paint to locate where the vehicles are at. The reason why this is done is so that
I can fold it out.
crash investigators can respond out to the scene later and take measurements of where these cars are at when they impacted. It helps us understand how the crash happened. One of law enforcement's responsibility in these crashes is to notify family members. It's one of the worst parts of the job, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the officers are trying to figure out where their family members are located and how they can best get a hold of them and let them know where they're going to be transported to. One of the hardest parts about having a loved one involved in the crash is figuring out where they're at. Helicopters bring people to different places and they bring them there very fast. So it's difficult to know where your loved one is, and which hospital they were transported to, and a lot of times that's based on bed availability. As you can see, they got the door open, but that's only part of the battle. Now they have to remove the patient from the car. Removing the patient from the car is needed in order to get them a medical assistance. However, you can also injure them further by removing them from the car improperly. EMS officials are trained in how to remove people from cars in these types of circumstances.
How are we doing? Need vital changes?
They're going to try and do this the least
Bandaged 3 different spots that had bleeding.
Arms and
possible
knees and
way
lower back pain right
to make
now.
sure that they're not causing further injury to the patient.
All right, we're gonna.
Obviously, we have a dummy for this scenario that's simulated, but the dummy does have joints and it's going to look like they're moving them, so you're going to watch them try to control the neck. They're going to try to control the torso, where those internal injuries could be. They're going to get them stabilized on the cot and ready for the helicopter.
Okay, I'm grabbing the hips. Slide.
This is a true team effort. Removing somebody from a car is not advised to be done by one person. Many people work together in order to reduce the propensity for injury to the individual. The straps are used to keep the person secured to the cot. There's quite a few straps. The patient will remain on this cot until they arrive at the trauma center, so it's important that they're strapped in there tight.
Hey, what do you guys need from us?
Officers will now look inside the car for additional pieces of evidence involving the crash. There are pieces of evidence that are collected from automobile crashes. Officers try to determine if a crime was committed in the crash, such as drunk or impaired driving. They're also trying to see if the driver was distracted in the crash. In this instance, our air ambulance is not here yet, so first responders will do what they can to administer emergency medical assistance to the party until the helicopter arrives on scene. This could consist of CPR. They may attach a defibrillator to them. They may continue talking with them if the patient is conscious and ask for the location of their injuries. Sometimes, honestly, they just hold their hand. Now that they're out of the car, they've retrieved some medical equipment that they can use. You can see our air ambulance has arrived. One of the first things they're going to do is circle around and look at the area so they can find a safe place to land. In this instance, it's oftentimes on the roadway. The officers will block the roadway for them and they'll land right in the middle of the road. So now that they made their circle, they're going to come back. They've identified the area where they want to land and they're going to start their descent. For those of you that haven't seen this in person, it's pretty impressive. Officers have advised the medics that this is a load and go situation, which means the patient is critical. They're going to load them onto the helicopter as quick as they can. In this scenario, the way they load a patient will be from the back of the helicopter. You see a door open in the back. and that's where they'll load them up. One of the more common questions we get from the air ambulance or to the air ambulance staff is how long does it take you to get to the hospital? Believe it or not, that helicopter can make it to one of the trauma centers either in Rochester or in the Twin Cities area in under 15 minutes. So helicopters are fast, that's why we use them, they save lives. We want to thank you all for your attention today for this mock crash.
What BA did was produce a mock crash scenario of an accident. The message being, don't drink and drive, don't be distracted, don't be on the phone, that type of stuff. I've been involved since the beginning with the mock crashes. I had a brother that was killed on December 15th, 1984. My brother's name was Greg Fette. He was 16 years old, a sophomore at Faribault High School. He had worked that evening and had gone home. Unlike me when I was younger, he had gone home, got permission to go to a friend's house, left, and was making a left-hand turn at an intersection when somebody that was .20 at that time, which was twice the legal limit back then, it ran the stop sign in a 35, it's either 35 or 40 mile hour zone. They figure he was going 65, maybe 70, and T-boned and pretty much killed him instantly. It's a tragedy that all of the pieces are still in my head. Everything that happened that night and over the next many years, with his death and all the details involved, it never goes away. And you never forget about him. You never forget about your brother. He was 16, a sophomore in high school, doing very well in school, very good student. It was just an absolute tragedy. The last time I seen him was the night before he had gotten killed. He had stopped down at our store. He had a Mustang. He wanted to put a car stereo in it, and we talked about that weekend putting in the car stereo and all that stuff. And sadly, that never happened. A lot of it doesn't go away. Time heals and changes it, but I can assure you that every single detail stays there. There's no forgetting it. And so that's why I've helped out with many things to do with, don't drink and drive. Pretty simple message, but it's even today there's, when my brother was killed, I think in '84, it was about 40 to 45,000 people a year in the U.S. were killed. Now it's down, but believe it or not, it's still around 10,000 people a year are killed from alcohol-related accidents. So it's frustrating that it's still happening, but the fact that that number is down shows that, you know, speaking up and talking about and just saying no to it has helped a lot. It's such a simple solution that we don't need to spend any money on it. Just don't drink and drive, and you save people's lives.